Last lesson, we looked at telling time to the hour, and today in lesson 2, we're going to look at how to tell time to the half hour. Our central question is still, how do I use and tell time? Here's our problem of the day. Draw base 10 blocks to model a 3-digit number. Write the number below the blocks. Describe the value of each digit. Okay, so we need to do a 3-digit number, so it'll have hundreds, tens, and ones, and then we're going to write the number below the blocks to describe each value, the value of each digit. So we've got 2 hundreds, and then let's do 3 tens, which would be 30. And 5 ones. So altogether it would be 235. What time is shown? Write the time. So we've got digital and analog clocks here. Remember from our lesson yesterday that the shorthand is the hour hand and the longhand is the minute hand. Because our longhand is on the 12, that means it is o'clock. And our hour hand is pointing to the 10, so we would say this is 10 o'clock. Same thing on number 2. Our minute hand is at the top, so we call that o'clock. Our hour hand is on the 5, so it is 5 o'clock. What time does the clock show here? Again, no colors this time, but you can still see the shorter hand is the hour. It's pointing to the 2. The minutes are up at the 12, which is o'clock, 00. So this is 2 o'clock. How do you read and tell time to the nearest half hour? Now, half hours are tricky because when it was at the hour mark, our hour hand was directly on the hour. For example, if it is 1 o'clock, the hour hand, the shorthand, is pointing to the 1. When we are halfway done with the hour, notice that my hour hand is now between the 1 and the 2. And that's because during this hour from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, our hour hand has to move all the way from the 1 to the 2. So once we move past o'clock, it's already making its journey on its way to get to the 2. When we're at the half hour, that means we're halfway to the next hour. So your hour hand is going to be halfway between 1 and 2. Now, anything before the 2 is still 1 o'clock, right? In here, anything in here, if the hour hand is pointing to anything in there, it's still going to be 1 o'clock. It doesn't turn 2 until the minute hand is on the 12 and the hour hand is directly on the 2. Then it's 2 o'clock. But anything between here is still going to be the hour that it just came from because it's on its journey. So this would be 1:30. Remember we talked about how an hour is 60 minutes. So half of that would be 30 minutes. And if we look at our clock over here, erase this real quick. If we look at our clock over here, we've got the minute hand on the 6. If you start up at the 12, hold on, there we go. If you start up at the 12, each number that we're going to go to represents a 5-minute increment. So this is 1 o'clock. Then we have 1:05, 1:10, 1:15, 1:20, 1:25, 1:30, right? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So when our minute hand is pointing straight down, that is on the half hour, or we say 30. You can also read this time as 1:30 because we are halfway past the 1 o'clock hour. All right, so let's do some practicing here. It says write a number between 1 and 12 in the blank shown. Write the time on the digital clock, then draw the hands on the analog clock to match the time. So let's do 3:30. Okay, and we need to start then at 3 o'clock. I always like to start at the top of the hour. So here we are, that's kind of like 3:01, 3:00, right? And now we need it to be 3:30. So if we're halfway past 3 o'clock, then we are at the 6 down here, right? Another way to think about that is half of 12 is 6. And we've got 12 numbers on the clock, so this is halfway. You could also think about if we drew a line down the middle of the clock, say it was a pizza, this would be one half, this would be the second half, right? So when our minute hand makes it all the way to the 6, we are officially halfway. So this would look like 3:30, because remember, each number is an increment of 5. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So on our analog clock, that's going to look like the minute hand, the long hand touching the 6, and the hour hand is not going to be right on the 3. It's only right on the 3 when it's 3:00. So at this point, we're halfway between 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock. So our hour hand needs to be halfway between 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock, just like you see here, right? It is not directly on the 3. It's between the 3 and the 4 because it's on its journey to 4 o'clock. You technically can't have a time where the minute hand would be on the 6 at the 30 and the hour hand would be directly on the 3. That can't happen. It can't physically happen because when we move our minute hand, our hour hand moves with it. Do you see that? Do you see how my hour hand is moving on its own? So I can't keep the hour hand at the 3 and make my minute hand go to the 6. It doesn't work. They're connected together. So as one moves, the other moves as well. Now when you're drawing it, you can kind of draw it however you want, right? And that's the problem, is because then lots of second graders will draw this arrow to go directly at the 3, but it is not directly on the 3 because it needs to be halfway to 4 o'clock. Okay, so Morris starts riding her bike at 5:30. 5:30 is another way to say 5:30. So let's write in 5:30. She rides for 2 hours. Show and write the time that Mora finishes riding. Okay, so 5:30 is when she starts the time, or starts her bike ride, I should say. And she rides for 2 hours. So let's get to 5 o'clock first. Gotta have my hour hand on the 5, my minute hand on the 12 to say o'clock. She starts her ride half past this. So she starts it at 5:30 and she rides for 2 hours. So if we make it all the way around the clock, that's 1 hour. So 1 hour back to the 6. And then we need to go one more time because she rode for 2 hours. All the way around. And now we are at the 2 hour mark after her bike ride. So if we look very closely at our hands here, you can see that our hour hand is now between the 7 and the 8. It's on its journey from 7 to 8. So we would say that this is 7, and then it's still going to be 30 because it's 2 hours from 5:30. So really we just added 2 to 5, right? 5 plus 2 is 7, and now we're at 7:30. So let's see, move this over, and now let me erase this because we need to write in the time that she finishes, which is 7:30. And on our analog clock, again, that looks like minute hand on the 6, hour hand halfway between the 7 and the 8. And that puts us at 7:30. All right, so now we're ready for Math in My World. Go ahead and grab your math book, open up to page 599. It should look like this. And it says to use a clock to show 5:30, so I'm going to do that on my screen for you. So we're going to show 5 o'clock, and then it says move the minute hand to the 6. So first we've got to get to 5 o'clock. Here we go. And now it says to move the minute hand to the 6. Remember, we just came from 5 o'clock. So it is 5:30. Another way to write that would be 5:30, 5 hours and 30 minutes, right? And then we can draw these hands to match the hands on my example clock. You can draw that in on page 599. So again, minute hand straight down to the 6. Hour hand is not on the 5. Do you see that? Even though it's still the 5 o'clock hour, it's halfway between 5 and 6 because it's on its journey to being 6 o'clock, and it's halfway there. So go ahead and have this filled in on 599, and then you may flip to page 560 for our guided practice. It says you can show time to the half hour. 1 half hour is 30 minutes. These clocks show 2:30. The hour hand points between 2 and 3. The minute hand points to the 6. So this is 2:30. It says, helpful hint, the hour hand moves halfway to the next number as a half hour passes. And that's what we've been talking about. It's not going to be directly on the 2 because it is on its journey. All right, so now we're going to use our clock to tell what time is shown. So we've got our hour hand is between the 9 and the 10, and our minute hand is on the 6. So the hour we came from, if I go backwards, actually, if I go backwards here, maybe, the hour we came from is 9. So now that we're at the 6, that's 9:30. So now we are 9:30. Okay, let's try the green one. We are going to put our hour hand between the 1 and the 2. I'm going to start at the 1, make it 1:30. So this is 1:30. It's past the hour it came from, right? Okay, well, we know it's going to be 30. And then our hour hand is between the 6 and the 7. So it came from 6, so 6:30 or 6:30. All right, it is 8:30. Explain what 8:30 means. 8:30 means you are halfway through the hour, right? When it's on the 6, we're at 30 minutes. 30 is half of 60, so we are halfway through that particular hour. So you are going to go on to do page 601, and 6:02. And then you may upload pictures to